Welcome back. In this video, I always start that way. In our last video, we were uh, adding our attributes, and we started to make a bunch of copy pasting. And maybe if you've tried to compile, maybe you found your couple of times where you've copy and pasted poorly. But everything should be fine at this point. Uh, And so I've got my vital attributes of health, stamina, and mana, my primary attributes, um, where one would maybe apply points or where the points get to be implemented or increased. So that's those ones. Secondary attributes where they are being going to be, kind of derived attributes from the primaries. And then from all of those would be maybe the result onto these. Okay, and we got all our rep notifies set up for multiplayer. And and so in our .h again, we had all our boilerplate, copying and pasting and continuing on. And so that's all good. So if we go to our player state, so this was where we had created a variable for holding our ability system component and where we constructed our ability system component. So I'd like to do a similar thing for making the player state hold our attribute set. So we'll make another U property here. And it's not going to be really exposed. Doesn't need to be. At least not to blueprints or what have you. At least not yet. So we're going to make a T object pointer of U attribute set. And we're going to call it the attribute set. Okay. And I think that's all we need to do there because we have the ability system interface. Oh no, yeah, maybe, I don't know. We'll see if it yells at us. I don't, oh, I know what I'm going to, it's going to yell at me. So I'm going to just forward declare my class here. U attribute set. Okay. And then in our CPP file, what we want to be able to do is create a object for it. So we're going to do that right here. I'm going to say attribute set equals create default subobject of type UHFX attribute set. And I'm going to name that the attribute set. And of course it doesn't like it because we need to do an include here. I don't know how to write it here. Now we're going to include, and it's in my ability system /hfx attribute set.h. And now that's happy. So that's good. I'll save that. Now, on our character, so we have two different conditions. We've got our player state that is holding our ability system component, and that's going to be holding it for our character. like our hero. And then we're also, the enemy is going to want an ability system component too, because they're going to be able to do stuff and cast spells and, start us on fire and all those good things. So on our character base, I would like to have some similar holders here as well. So if I go to my character base.h file, and we are going to do some similar things here. So one thing is that we're going to be able to want to get to that ability system interface. So we're going to, for the character, we're going to add that interface as well. Okay. I think I've got that in there correct. And I think we need to add the ability system interface here as well. I'm just going to go up here and include the ability system interface.h. So that we got that. And what do I want to do here? Well, let's look at our player state for guidance here. So on the player state, it got the ability system component from the base class of the ability system component. And it did an override on that. And then it returned the ability system component. So on our character base, we're going to want to be able to do a similar thing. So we'll do the virtual U. We want to return an ability system component. Pointer, and we'll call it, and it's get ability system component. And it's constant, and we want to override that function. And if we implement that, we basically just want it to return our ability system component. Now, did I not? Maybe I didn't define that. Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah. See, those are the things I should. So on our player state, we had made two object pointers for our ability system component and attribute set. So we're going to want to do that on our character base as well. And they are going to be protected. So we'll do that right here. They are going to be U properties so that they're part of the garbage collection stuff. And they'll be T object pointers, but they're not going to be exposed because well, they'll be implemented differently. And then we're going to want one for our attribute set too. And it doesn't know what this attribute set is. And it probably doesn't know what this is either, but it's getting it through the interface, I think. But we'll do a for declaration of that as well. Oh, not ability set, attribute set. There we go. And then in our character base, this should be, that's happy now, so that's good. And in our character base here, so we've got, this is the getter, it's an override, so it's up, I put it up here in this public section, but I'm also going to want a getter for this attribute set of the protected section. So I'm going to put that one down here because that's one of ours. I'm going to want to return a U attribute set, and we'll call it get attribute set. It's going to be constant, and it's going to return attribute set. Easy peasy. Okay. So after we put this public getter for the attribute set on the character base, what we forgot to do or haven't done yet is this similar function. I'm going to copy it here and put it on my player state because we added that object here as well. And so we're going to want to be able to get it from the player state as well, have it return. And there we go. So that's good. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is we need to tell the ability system um, who owns us, like who owns the ability system component, and um, and who's controlling us. So who's the owning actor and what avatar is being is the one that's being controlled. So where we're going to do that is in our on our character base, we are going to create a function that's going to be able to be overridden by um, our subclasses, our hero and our enemy. So I'm going to make a protected function here, and I'm going to make a comment here that says override this in child classes to initialize the ability actor information or info as needed, as appropriate, whatever. It'll be virtual void, and we'll call it initialize or init ability actor info. Okay, so on the base class here, it's not going to do anything, but we'll just create an empty definition of it. And what we're going to do is go into our hero character. On the hero character, we can do the override here. So we'll do virtual void initialize ability actor info override. And then we can make that definition. And what we want to be able to do here is, well, we want to set our ability system component and our attribute set because they reside on our player state, but we want to have them on our character for well, because we want them to be on our characters, I guess. Probably makes it easier to call them and deal with them. So first, let's get the player state. So we need a so the player has a function called get player state, right? And we want a HFX player state. And so it doesn't know anything about that. So we need to make a include for that. And that is in our player and player state .h. That's right. Player HFX player state, sorry. Okay, and so what we want to, we can store this in a variable. And so it's AHFX player state pointer called HFX player state. That's going to equal to that. That's wonderful. We can check it if you want, or it's just going to crash if it's not any good. Going to crash here for sure if it didn't work. How did I write that? You can tell the name of the project I'm following. HFX player state. And now from the player state, we have the get ability system component function that we can call. So we can set that now here on our hero. So we can get our ability system component and make it equal to our HFX player state get ability system component. And on the ability system component then, we can now set the on the ability system component, we can set the or call initialize ability actor info. And do I have something funny spelled here? Oh, maybe I'm missing an include. Yep. So we want to include our ability system component. So, which is on our ability system slash HFX ability system component.h. Okay. And now we can call this init actor info. And what does it want? It wants the owner actor and the avatar actor. So the owner actor is the actually our player state. So we're going to use our HFX player state, and the avatar is this, our actual hero character. Okay, so that's been set. And then there's other things that we're going to do there after when we start to bind delegates to it, but we don't need to do that just yet. But then I also wanted to get our attribute set, and I want to set that to our HFX player state, and we're going to get the attribute set from there. Okay, so that sets those two items on our hero character. Well, actually, we've got a function for it, but we haven't called this function anywhere yet. So where we need to call that is when those would be valid. So when is the player state going to be valid for this character? And that would be after it gets possessed by the character. After the after the character is possessed by the player state. So what we want to do is override the possessed by um, function. So virtual possessed by, and it wants an A controller override. So that's what's going to get called um, if you're playing single player or playing on the server. Then what will happen is when that value gets changed, um, then the player state gets changed when we set it. Well, let's do the possessed by first. I'm getting ahead of myself maybe. So let me just create this definition. And on possessed by, so we're going to call our super. Pass in new controller. And what we want to do here is, so here we're on server, and we're going to call our init ability actor info, right? And that's when we're going to set our player state, right? And so once we set this, there's a rep notify that's going to fire to call that and set it on if you're playing on a client. So the other function that we want to override here is the um, virtual void called onRep player state override. Okay, so here we can now make this function, and all it's going to do, again, it's going to call its super value. And what we're going to do on the client, because again, down here, after we possessed it on the server, we called down here, we set the player state, this value got set, and now this gets called, and we're going to call init ability actor info. And so that will get called on a client. And so the client's going to come down here and it's going to set this, and it because it sets it, it doesn't get called back up to the server. It's only when it's server down. And yeah, and that's a value that is already set to replicate is part of the base player state functions, etc., etc. Okay, so that should get our hero character getting its um, ability system component values set and setting the actor info for it. And we've also set up our attribute set. Now, our enemy, he's a little bit different, but he's kind of the same. So he derives from the character base. And since the character base already has the ability system interface on it, he doesn't need to have an additional interface added here because it's already there. Um, and so what we want to be able to do is um, we want to override that init ability actor info that we created on the character base because we want to do a special thing here or a different thing here anyways. So I'm going to do that. Virtual void init ability actor info override. Okay, and if we go and create that, what do we want to do in here? Well, before we can go here, we don't have an ability system component yet to muck with. So let's go back to our character.h and on our, I guess I don't need to go to the character.h because on the character base we have our ability system component and attribute set. So in here we just need to figure out where do we want to be able to set those values. So we set them in for our hero character. They were set in the player state, or they were created in the player state, and they were we set them on possessed by and on the on rep player state, right? Because we had this. That's when we called that function. So when do we want to call that function for the enemy character? Well, the enemy characters are just AI controlled. So whenever they spawn in, um, their begin play is what's going to get called. And so after the begin play is started, then they'll be valid, and that's when we can attach into that. So we're going to override our begin play. So virtual void, and it's protected, begin play, override. So we can implement that. So on begin play, we are going to do the super. And what we're going to do here is, I guess we can check our ability system component. It should be set. It should be set if it, otherwise it'll blow up here. And then we can set its actor info. So we can basically call our function that we have below here, which is init ability actor info. And so what we want to set there again is who's controlling it and what's the avatar. So our ability system component, init ability actor info, this comma this. because it's owned by this character and its avatar is this character. And it's not liking something here. Probably need an include. So we need to include our ability system. And it is the HFX ability this system component.h. So that's made that happy. But it doesn't, we never created them yet. That's the other problem. This is just an empty, basically coming from the character base. We need to actually create the thing on the character. So we need our ability system component. I knew I figured, got something here. We need to create our default sub-object of our HFX ability system component. And we're going to call it the ability system component. And it doesn't like this. Well, we'll just give it a second. We'll have to figure it out. Ability system component. And we want to set is replicated. True. We want all of everybody's enemy to know that it's there. And we want the ability system component replication mode to gameplay effect replication mode minimal. Doesn't need to be everything. And we need to also create our attribute set here. Basically, these are the same lines that were on our player state where we created it and we got the thing. And I probably need this other include here for the attribute set. I'm just going to copy that here. And go back to my enemy CPP. Still is not liking these. I'm going to pretend that it's going to fix them though. I don't see a problem there. And I think we're good. I think that creates it for our enemy. We created it for our hero. It's on our player state. We started them off all from our enemy base. I think we're good for trying to see if we can build this. See how many things it yells at me for. It might take a little longer here than normal because we added a bunch of stuff. I'm just going to pause the recording for now. Okay, so I see what I did wrong here. I've got one compiling error here. Why it wasn't recognizing this, because this was supposed to be a U ability. This is a U attribute set. There we go. Because if I look at the component, it is a U HFX ability system component. Okay, so that's I'll try the build again. And we got success. So let's run it and see what we get here. We're not going to be able to see anything, but we might be able to, I think it should show up if we use a debug command in the console, provided that we set everything. I think everything should be set, but let's just take a quick look here at our character. Let's look at our hero. Yeah, a lot of things in here. Yeah, I think we're good. We'll find out. We'll push play. And here we are. And oh, there's something I gotta fix there. But anyways, if I go tilde and go show debug and say ability system. Okay, so we see on the side here, I know it's moving the camera all over the place, but on this left-hand side here, our ability tags. It says blocked ability tags, but these are all our attributes, actually. So health, stamina, intelligence, wisdom, blah, 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 blah. They're all set to 0. And if I do a page up, I'll go to an enemy. And this is the information on the enemies. So it's the enemy characters. And these are their values on that object. So we're getting their attribute sets, and so it looks like we are successful in the creation of that. So that's good. Perfect. The next step is we should actually have it do some stuff with that. So that's what we'll do in the next video. Thanks a lot.